Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank. So glad to have you with us today on this beautiful Wednesday night as we adjust a couple things. We want to thank you. We got a very special show for you tonight. Boy, do we have a special show for you tonight. We're going to have in about 15 minutes the host of TGI Sports Talk. That's right, TGI Sports Talk. Keith Engle is going to join us. We're going to go ahead. We're going to break down the first 10 weeks in the NFL. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the great things that have happened so far in the NFL, which teams are the ones to still watch out for, which ones are surprisingly not doing well, and that's all about 13 minutes from now. But before we get into Keith Engle and his appearance on our show, we do want to talk about a couple of different things that are going on right now. And obviously the first one that has a lot of people's attention this evening, although you haven't really heard a lot of talk about it, has been the NBA draft. And we do have an update here, and I'm trying to find it right here for you. So stay with me, folks. There it is. We're going to give you the update on the NBA draft, the first 5 picks. I don't want to go ahead and do the whole shebang here with the NBA draft. We will not be following it all night. So I just want to let you know that we are the first, the first 8 picks are now in. And for, a lot of good news for you New York Knicks fans. You wanted Obi Toppin at number 8. You got Obi Toppin at number 8. So there's some excitement in New York, some excitement in Madison Square Garden. If you missed we'll go ahead and do the first 8 picks. First 8 picks in the draft. Number 1 by the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards. I don't think there was any surprise. The shooting guard out of Georgia. I don't think any surprises there. Number 2 with the Warriors was James Wiseman. I thought that would be the pick as well. And then number 3, what might have been a surprise to some people, but possibly could have been the best overall pick in this NBA draft so far is the Hornets with LaMelo Ball. This guy is a great, great ball player, can do a lot, has a lot of instincts with the basketball. Only thing he hasn't proven is that he could win yet, so that was holding some people back. Then the Bulls are number 4, Patrick Williams. 5, the Cavaliers, Isaac Okoro. Number 6, the Hawks picked Onyeka Okongwu. Number 7, the Pistons, Killian Hayes. And then for all you Knicks fans out there that wanted Obi Toppin has been picked up by the New York Knickerbockers. So did want to let you go ahead and know there the top 8 picks in the draft. And for those of you just joining us, we got an incredible show for you tonight. We just went over the top 8 picks in the NBA draft, but in about 15 minutes, my good friend, my good buddy from TGI Sports Talk, Keith Engle, is going to be joining us probably in about 10 minutes, like I said, and we're going to break down every single conference in the NFL, talk about the NFC South, your Buccaneers versus the Saints, and what's going to happen the rest of the year there. We're going to go from the AFC East all the way down to the NFC West and go ahead and give you a little review and what our opinions is going forward. So the first 8 picks are in. Hopefully those of you, we will go ahead and update that later on Frankly Speaking Sports after the show. So if you don't get to see the picks, go to Frankly Speaking Sports. But, the big news, a couple of big things. First of all, if you haven't heard it already today, just a huge shame out of New York with the New York Mets and Robinson Cano. Robinson Cano tested positive for PEDs, which I believe this is the second time that Cano had been caught cheating in baseball using performance-enhancing drugs. And he will miss now the entire 2021 season. And for those of you who does not understand what that means to the New York Mets, number one, obviously, he doesn't get to play in any of the 162 games. And I want to let everybody know right now, some of the questions may be going on in your head. What happens if it's a shortened season like just happened? The actual suspension is for 162 games. So I would be under the impression that if there is a shortened season because of COVID-19 this year, he could not play until 162 games of being suspended has been fulfilled. The other thing this does for a New York Mets ball club that is already planning on spending during the offseason with their new owner, Stephen Cohen, it frees up another $24 million a year, because by going ahead and being suspended, Cano goes ahead and forfeits his entire salary for 2021, which is $24 million. So, hey, he got suspended once. Use your noodle. He says he never used them before. He didn't know. Yes, that's what they all say. And then in other news, which here in the Tampa Bay area, a lot of talk around the Antonio Brown situation about this security camera, security gate. 2 weeks before he was signed by the Buccaneers, he he went ahead and he broke a camera. He threw his bike at a fence, and everything for the most part was fixed. Antonio Brown went here, talked to the homeowners association, was willing to pay, and I'm sure he was willing to pay a little bit more money than the actual cost of this equipment. But everything seemed to be okay. No criminal charges. They said, hey, misunderstanding, let's get it fixed, and so on. But, this is the problem with the media, and especially the Tampa media. You look at the Rick Strouds out there and some of the other people, and I love Rick Stroud to death, and I love what he does as a reporter, getting us the information. But it's about time this guy, in everybody's eyes, they don't even know him, don't know what happened, and they're already considering him guilty just because of his past history, which is not fair. Now, I don't condone anything that this young man has done previously with supposedly sexually assaulting a woman, a rape case, and so on and so on. I don't condone any of that. I'm not sitting here and sticking up for this guy because I condone what he has done in the past. But if you listen to everything that he was asked to do since he's come over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he has done so and more. Everybody is saying that. Now, that still doesn't give him a right, but this happened before he went ahead and signed with the Bucs. The Bucs are now aware of it. And, supposedly everybody on both sides, and I'm talking about Antonio Brown and the victim whose camera and fence was damaged, want to forget it. It's bridge under the water, and let's move on. No charges will be filed. Yet the media automatically has to go ahead and will not be happy unless they can make, Antonio Brown look worse than he already looks for some of the things he has done. Now, once again, I am not backing and I am not condoning what he has done. But come on, guys. We knew he was going to cause trouble. We knew this. We knew that. You didn't know anything. You just assumed because you don't like the guy, because of what he's done in his past, and now this is the best way to get a story. See, what happens is if nothing comes out of this, the Rick Strouds and the other people that write for the Tampa Bay Times, they don't have nothing to write about. They only get to write about the games and what's going on during the weekend practices. They don't have that big story that makes them look good, that makes them look like they're high on a pedestal. Well, some of you reporters out there, and I remember my time when I was back with the Yankees and I was back with the Dolphins, and I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not saying this about Rich Stroud, so please don't assume that, but, not every reporter that is out there is a saint. Believe me, I've been around a lot of reporters. I've seen what a lot of reporters do, and some of them do a lot worse than what some of these players do, and they still have a job. Yet, their job in their eyes is to find whatever story they can find out there, no matter how much it hurts or puts another person down. And that's the media in general. We don't write about positive things. You don't write about positive things that the Antonio Browns or the Tom Bradys or the, Rob Gronkowskis or the Donovan Smiths do. You only want to write about the negative. Tom Brady's washed up because he has a bad game. You Tampa fans need to grow up, and I'm a Tampa fan just like you, but it's about time you start maturing as a fan base and be the word fan. Not a fan when your team only wins and then not hate them when they lose. But enough is enough. And, until this gentleman is accused guilty, which I don't believe the NFL in any way, shape, or form is going to suspend this young man, then let it be. Let it be. Let it be. I think the Beatles said that the best. But this is a guy that, yes, he's had problems. He has problems. He's recognized he's had problems, and he's trying to work on it. But all you damn media people, stop being so darn hateful in the Tampa Bay area and build up your team instead of constantly building them and knocking them down. I mean, it's just wrong. And if any of you folks out there that are on, and I see we got plenty of you on, want to leave a comment, please go ahead. I would love to see you leave a comment and find out exactly what you're thinking in this case. And after we talk with Keith, who will be on in the next couple of minutes, we will go ahead and talk further about it. But as far as I'm concerned, okay, I love every guy that plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a player, okay? People don't judge me by what I'm doing off the field right now. People, shouldn't judge this guy by what has happened. He has screwed up. He has said he has screwed up. Okay, let's see what happens going further. This man, the last thing this guy needs is for you guys to keep knocking him down, and then he goes out and does something really, really bad because you guys are hating so much on this guy. Okay, so before we find out the facts, let's be smart about this, and when we hear what comes out of it, then you can go ahead and make a decision. So that's my point here on Antonio Brown. And ladies and gentlemen, we're about a minute away from having the great Keith Engle on with us from TGI Sports Talk. Want to remind you all that there are several different ways that you can go ahead and follow us. Obviously, everybody knows on Facebook. You go to Facebook, Frankly Speaking Sports, and you go ahead and you sign up. Also, we are every single day, we are live on YouTube. It's just Frankly Speaking Sports, and the next day, it's a 12-hour delay. You can watch it the next day. All of our episodes, all of our interviews that we do right on our YouTube channel. Also, for those of you that have a Twitter account, we are on Twitter, and we do a lot of retweeting because the reason why I do a lot of retweeting is I want our fan base, I want our listeners to know that they're getting the top information up to date, and it's factual. There is nothing more important, and I'm sure not only Dave, but Keith Engle would tell you the same thing is when we put out information, the biggest thing for us isn't just to be the fastest if we want to get it out, but it's to be the most accurate because it doesn't do us any good to report something that isn't true. So go to our Twitter account. That's at Larry Frankus with a US at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor, thrill, and most of all pleasure to introduce to you the host at TGI Sports Talk. Let's welcome in Keith Engle. Should be coming up. There he is.
Hello,
Keith,
Larry. How are you? How are you tonight, Larry?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's great to have you on the show finally.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I know that I've checked out your show a few times. You're very passionate about what you do, obviously, which is awesome to see. And we've got a common denominator in your new quarterback and my old quarterback, and I'm glad that we could get together finally.
You know, on that subject, great segue. Let me ask you this, Keith, because a lot of fans are wondering, before the season, a couple of things are happening right now that could affect the New England Patriots. Let's first talk, Cam Newton, yes, he won the other day, but you and I can't look each other in the eye and said he played the cleanest or the best game of his career in that win. No. They're not playing well this year. They have a losing record. I want to ask you this. Is Stidham going to get his chance? All we hear about is how high that Belichick has been on this kid, yet you're 4 and something, you're under 500. Is the kid going to get a chance at least before the end of the season to showcase himself?
Well, I can tell you I'd like to see that. When they fell at 2-5, I was a big advocate on my show and a couple other shows that I do appear on that they should play Stidham and find out what they have, if anything. They did go out and win the last 2 games, one against the Jets, obviously not terribly impressive, but last week's was an impressive win. But still, you're even with the expanded playoffs, you're 2 games behind. The schedule's not that kind to the Patriots. The Bills and Dolphins are both playing really good football ahead of them. I still would like to see Stidham get his chance, because you have to find out if you got a quarterback at all. And they were very high on him. As you mentioned earlier, last year they were very high on him. I have heard some rumblings in the last week or so. One of the reasons they did not make a switch is that they are now not as enamored with Stidham as they were previously due to some factors maybe beyond his control. He was hurt in training camp. Hasn't got a lot of reps, but the coaching staff is not where they were, a year ago this time in his corner. So we'll see. I still would like to see him play.
Right, and I agree with you 100%. There's really I can't think of a reason why he shouldn't play. But let me ask you this. The results so far this year, the subpar results from the Patriots, yes, I know a lot of the defensive players held out, didn't hold out, but they stayed out due to COVID-19 this year. Is this, in your opinion, and I'm sure it's some of both, but is it more because of the defensive side of the ball, which has always been a key for the New England Patriots? Is it because so many guys are out this year, or is it Tom Brady not being there?
Well, it's a couple of things. I mean, the guys who opted out, a couple of them were very important cogs to the defense, obviously, in Hightower and Chung specifically. But the defense, has played well this year, not as well as they have in past years. But again, I'm a big believer, at least the way the NFL is played today, that the defense, your defense needs a good offense to be able to be a stellar defense, because you can't be on the field, 2/3 of the game like they've been a lot of games because of the ineptitude of the offense for a 3 or 4 game stretch and be any good. So, and as far as Tom not being there, I don't know if this team would be a whole lot better if Tom had been there this year or not, because we still lack weapons on offense. He doesn't have nearly the weapons that he's got there in Tampa Bay, I can tell you. I mean, I like some of the things. They've got some kids that are starting to gel and come to the top. Like Jacoby Myers is playing great football right now. Harris at running back has really had some stellar games the last month. So I think there's some pieces there. I don't know that. Maybe they'd be 5-4 if Tom was there, but I don't know. They certainly wouldn't be 7-2. I don't think they still would have struggled because the defense is a problem and the lack of skill players. So drafting, their drafts have been not good the last quite a few years. So that's got to turn around if this team's going to get any better. And it's not a Tom Brady being gone thing. The whole Tom Brady's winning the breakup is, overhyped to me. You can't compare. They're apples and oranges,
Right. Now, you look at this division and the Buffalo Bills are leading, but only slightly by a half game over the Miami Dolphins, which we'll talk about in a moment. But did you ever think with the Buffalo Bills, you think about that defense that they had, and, first question I want to ask you is, how much of a damper could this loss that they just lost with Kyle Murray throwing this Hail Mary pass be for a team like the Buffalo Bills, or do you think they'll be able to come back? Because that was a devastating loss that would have gave them a 1.5 lead in that division. Yeah,
it is a tough loss for any team to overcome, especially one that's, they're not overflowing with veteran influences there. I think it's going to linger for a while. One of the good things is it's not a division loss, so that obviously is a good thing. But I will tell you that Miami is licking their chops and licking and biting at their heels right now. And early in the year, I thought Miami was a year away at least. I thought they were heading in the right direction. They got a great coach. They made a great move in picking Brian Flores, one of the few from Belichick's coaching tree that's had success on any level. But I thought they were a year away, and they are just playing tremendous football.
And, they're playing tremendous football on both sides. This team, when you look what Brian Flores has done there, they're not just building a one-dimensional team. They're building a pretty darn good, complete team down in Miami. And, say what you want about Tua, and, one of the questions, did they do it right? Did they put him in right? Did they do Ryan Fitzpatrick? Everybody knew Tua was coming. I don't think that was any surprise. But at the end of the day, they're winning. They're excited. And anytime you have a young team like that and you go ahead and build confidence and momentum, this is a team that I honestly believe, love to get your opinion on it, that is going to give the Bills a challenge down to the end.
I think it's quite possible they're the best team in the division right now.
Yeah.
They're as you mentioned a minute ago, Larry, they're the best, the most well-rounded team in the division. They're winning games on defense, they're winning games on offense, they're winning games on special teams. They're doing it all right now. And, the whole Tua thing, the only reason I could see not to play Tua is if you were looking to make sure, give him a whole year to get healthy.
Right.
As healthy as he could be. As far as, playing him over Fitzpatrick, it's a no-brainer. I don't care how well Fitzpatrick's playing. He's still Ryan Fitzpatrick, and the team would be 8-8, and he'd implode at the end of the year.
And, this Miami team, what some people don't realize, and you get to see them, you being a New England fan a couple of times a year, don't be mistaken. This team does give up a lot of yards on defense. The amazing thing is they don't give up a lot of points. So when it comes to crunch time, they stop, their defense rises to the occasion. Just a weird formula, but hey, it's working.
I got to tell you, it's funny that you bring that up because that was the formula in New England for a lot of years. They gave up lots of yardage, but it was a bend but don't break defense. They would lead the league or be at the top of the league in points allowed, but near the bottom in yardage allowed. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many yards you give up. It only matters how many points you give up. So,
Well, let's talk about some of the other divisions. I'd love to go through with them, get your insight. We'll stay in the AFC with the AFC South, and unbelievable. And believe it or not, if anyone, and I don't just say this, you listen to the preview shows we did before the year. I told everybody the Pittsburgh Steelers will go to the Super Bowl. And people say, well, Larry, why do you say that? The team, and this is the reason. They had a good team, but the problem with this team last year was the one position they suffered at was the quarterback position. And because Big Ben was out and Rudolph wasn't the answer, Dobbs wasn't the answer, you put Big Ben back in there and add a pleasant surprise in Chase Claypool. This team is undefeated and playing not just well on offense, but the team with TJ Watt has 9 sacks on the defensive side of the ball there.
Yeah, they're playing great balanced football. They got Mike Tomlin's an underrated coach too. He's got that team in contention almost every year. He's had a down year here and there, but everybody does. And you're right. You had a Big Ben without having to give anything up. It's it's not a draft pick. It's not a trade or free agency. You don't plug in a quarterback like Big Ben and not expect to get better. And some teams, I've read where people have knocked their schedule a little bit, but you know what? That's a pretty tough division right now. They beat the Ravens, they beat the Titans in the South, who might be a little bit overrated still, but they beat them on the road. They beat the Browns. They beat everybody. You can only play the teams that are on your schedule. And as an old coach who is not one of my favorites, he's a great coach and turned the Patriots around when he got there. Bill Parcells, he's not one of my favorite people, but he's a great coach. He always said, "You are what your record says you are," and they're 9-0, and they've got a chance to go undefeated. They do. I doubt they will because nobody does really, but they're always in contention. I think Mike Tomlin does not get his due as one of the great coaches around today.
Yeah, I agree. I love Mike Tomlin. And, it's kind of weird because, your Patriots this past weekend beat the Ravens. And
they played very good football. I mean, again, Cam, they put Cam in better situations to be able to succeed. Again, they're starting to get some production from a couple of skill guys in Myers and Harris, which the run game is what opens it up for Cam, right? And it can't be just Cam running the ball. But Harris has run the ball very well. He's got 300-yard games this year, 3 or 4, at least 3. And he's played very well, and they're starting to give him the ball more and more and more. And that's going to be a key in going forward. If they're going to get back in this, and I still have my doubts, even as a fan, that they're going to continue this, this type of play that they had Sunday night. The key is going to be if they can run the football. They're not going to win with Cam throwing the ball 40 times a game. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, so we got Pittsburgh in that division. We know they're going to, pretty much stay that way. Baltimore and Cleveland. Cleveland, are you surprised how much this team has in the last year and a half has just went from being, one of the premier teams people are saying in the league to pretty much just being an average team now?
Yeah, they give up too many points. They're 6-3, but I think they've given up 20, 25 or 30 points more than they've scored, which is kind of weird when you think about it. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan. I mean, he's very up and down and inconsistent. I'm not surprised that they're, an average football team. Again, they're in the playoffs. I think if they started today, or at least on the peripheral. But if I was a fan of somebody up and coming in that division, it'd be the Bengals. I think the Bengals have got something going there. They're only 2-6, but Burrow's played great for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah,
and they've lost some tough games, some close games. But I think they got some pieces of the puzzle, I think, in place there. And if I was a Bengals fan, I'd be excited about the future.
And you're talking about a quarterback that's made a difference as we move to the AFC South. What has Phillip Rivers meant to the Indianapolis Colts?
You know, leadership is a huge thing, right? I think I'm not a big Rivers fan. I just haven't been. I didn't think he had a lot left in the tank, and early in the year it kind of looked that way. But he's kind of stepped up the last month or so. I mean, the team's 6-3, playing great. Their defense has played well. I think if you don't get Phillip Rivers, 2 or 3 touchdowns behind, you'll probably be in good shape because he won't make big mistakes if they're winning games, I think.
And this is a division that could go down, like we talked about earlier, down to the wire because they just beat the Titans 34-17 in a big game for first place. Rivers 29-39, 308 yards, a touchdown. But, and there's nobody in that division. The Texans and Jaguars, I think, each have 2 wins. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a 2-team race down to the end. So the question is, how does Rivers do versus Tannehill and Henry in Tennessee?
Yeah, Henry's the offense there. I've never been a big Ryan Tannehill fan either. Last year's playoff run aside, Rivers, remember, has been doing what he's doing. As much as I wasn't a fan of this move for the Colts in the beginning of the year, he's been doing this without. T.Y. Hilton hasn't been healthy a lot of the year either. They're going to get healthier. The defense is going to get better. They got young running backs who are going to get better. And I think the Colts have got the leg up here. And, they beat up the Titans the other night. That game wasn't as close as the score even, I don't think.
Right. Now, rounding up the AFC with the West, what can you say about the Chiefs? I mean, they brought originally 20 of 22 starters back. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the draft, which I thought was the steal of the first round, as I called it. They're 8-1. The Raiders, who have been playing great football, are now going to be in a little bit of trouble because they don't even know if they're going to be able to field a team this week. I think they just had 13 to 20 players already today, go out with COVID. So, do you just see this being an easy finish for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I think their biggest challenge is going to be boredom. The last 7 weeks of the season that they have, or 8 weeks of the season they have. They got it. They're well coached. I mean, Mahomes is just so good. Even when they don't play well, they end up winning games by 2 touchdowns. So. I think home field is going to be very important. Well, again, I guess with no fans this year, it wouldn't seem as important, but I think it still will matter come playoff time. So I think what they've got to play for is to hope they can get ahead of Pittsburgh and get the home field advantage for the playoffs. It's going to be they're the 2 best teams in the league for sure, or the conference, I should say. It's going to be exciting to see. I mean, I don't know how you stop the Chiefs. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. Their defense plays well. And they're a good example, Larry, of what I was talking about before. I mean, their defense, when you look at it, they don't have a lot of stars there. They aren't that good, but the offense makes that defense better.
Right.
To keep them off the field. So,
and not just that, Keith, but when you look at this team, the defense also knows, besides being kept off the field, when they're not off the field, they know they can go out there, be a little extra aggressive, and let's say they do make a mistake, they're confident in the ability of that powerful offense to come right back down the field and correct it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Larry, actually, that I hadn't even given that much thought to. You're right. They can take chances because they don't have to worry about falling behind. You saw what happened against the Texans in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah,
they got
absolutely.
Scorched for a quarter, and all of a sudden Mahomes just erases it before you can even blink an eye.
Yeah. Now let's go ahead and move over the NFC. Probably one of the most embarrassing divisions in all of the NFL has to be the NFC East. But whoever thought we would say the Giants are a half game out of first place? Unbelievable. I thought here's a great example. I gave you everybody's roster, let's say Dak Prescott before he got injured, and said, look at these rosters, we all would have said this Cowboys team looks like a dominant team. And then when you did, just like they did last year, of course, Dak got hurt. But, here's a game now where you have the Giants at 3-7, the Eagles up 3-5-1, and Daniel Jones is starting. We saw it down here where he missed a lot of opportunities on that Monday night game versus the Bucs, or else they probably would have beat the Bucs that night. But here's a team still without Saquon Barkley, and they're starting to play well. So I don't see Dallas. I don't see Washington, but could we have a race between the Eagles and the Giants? And listen to this, Keith, it gets better. One of them has to win the division,
right?
Which means one of them may have a losing record, which means one of them will host a game at home because they win their division.
Assuming the league doesn't expand the playoffs again, in which they'll blow up that whole division home game for all the division winners getting a home game. They were also talking about if they were to add an 8th team because COVID, causes cancellations that can't be made up and everybody doesn't play the same number of games. If they did that, they were going to change the playoff format too. So it was just going to be straight 1 through 8 seeding and the division winners wouldn't matter. But as it stands today, yes, they would get a home game. And I'll tell you what, I'm not a Giant fan by any sense of the word, but I think right now they may be the best team in the division.
Right now, since that Monday night game, they're definitely playing the best football. And, the amazing thing I like about this kid Jones, not only does he throw the ball, he rushes the ball. And you don't see a lot of that anymore. The people are starting to shy away from that in the NFL with obvious reasons. But here's a guy who had 64 yards rushing last week besides his arm. So he's a dual threat. Plus, they got a good receiving core. They got Tate, Shepard, Slayton. I mean, when you look at it, he has some weapons. Unfortunately, like we both know, what happened to Barkley was too bad because I could only imagine how much more dominant this team would be right now if Barkley was there.
Oh, they'd be sitting really pretty. I think their defense is starting to come around, play better. As you mentioned, Daniel Jones playing better. You got to have good quarterback play in this league to win. And you got to protect the football. And that's been the biggest knock against him, right? Is not taking care of the football. And he's certainly done that the last couple of weeks. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, the Eagles, I think there's something wrong in Philadelphia. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's Wentz. I'm not sure what it is, but there's just something wrong there. There's too much talent. Even with the injuries they've had, they should not be 3-5-1, and hanging on by the thread here. I mean, that tie might make all the difference. It might give them the division win because they end up with one less loss than anybody else.
That's right. Yeah. All right, my friend, let's move. We'll keep moving right along. The NFC North, I don't think is there. Listen to these statistics, year statistics. Okay. You look at it, it's 2,500 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Can you ask any more of Aaron Rodgers? The guy keeps getting
talking about Nick Foles.
But Aaron Rodgers seems to consistently, when you think he's just about done and had enough, comes out and he's taking this team to a 7-5 record right now.
Yeah, if anything beats them, I think it'll be their lack of depth at some important positions. I mean, as you know, before the season, Rodgers was unhappy. They didn't go out and get him more weapons. They drafted a quarterback, and it's worked out okay. If Devontae Adams stays healthy and Rodgers stays healthy, obviously, right. They're the class of the division. I will tell you that watch out for the Vikings, though. Don't sleep on the Vikings.
Playing very well lately.
They're playing great football the last month, and I wrote them off myself when they were 0-4. And they're going to go as far as their quarterback. They got a great running back. Cook's a great running back. They got a great running game. Cousins is kind of the question there, right? If he can hold it together, they may make a run here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the, best battles in the league has to be the Saints versus the Buccaneers. Your buddy Tom Brady, your buddy Gronkowski. You got other buddies on that team as well, I know. But when you look at this team now, this could be the time the Buccaneers, after just getting completely destroyed 2 weeks ago, coming back, a good win versus the Carolina Panthers this week, could be the time for them to make their move, because it looks like, well, we know Drew Brees is going to be out at least a minimum of 2 weeks. How do you feel Jameis will do in his place?
Well, you know him better than I do, probably, and I have my doubts about him being able to keep that team at the top of the division. And also, just to go back to Brees for a second, if he's got 5 broken ribs and a punctured lung and he's out 2 weeks, then he's some kind of Superman if he comes back.
You know, he tried to get them a second opinion to clear him to play this week. That's how tough that guy is.
He's a tough guy, but again, if those reports are true, I cannot believe he'll be playing in 3 weeks. But, again, he surprised us before. So as far as Winston goes, though, Larry, God, he's got a ton of talent. He's got everything you need, except I'm not sure that he just understands the game the way that he needs to. I mean, what did he throw last year? 30 picks, 30, right? And he was 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. If it's for a short period of time, and I guess I have to take into account, of course, he played with a great quarterback coach last year too, and Bruce Arians. But he's playing with he's got Sean Payton this year, who, heck, he went 5-0, I think, last year with Teddy Bridgewater. So he's made do with stopgap quarterbacks before. And don't forget that who's the third stringer? He's escaping my mind now.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Hill. Yeah, don't forget he's going to be in the mix. They're going to mix that up with the two of them while and he's an interesting threat.
Oh my goodness, yes.
He's a great threat to have on your offense. You don't know what he's going to do.
But, if you're Jameis Winston, you got to be right now. This is your chance. Listen to this. He comes in. He has an opportunity to show that he learned. He kept saying it was the tools he had in Tampa, He's been with Sean Payton. We're going to see what he does. But not only that, he only has a 1-year deal there. So at the end of the year, he becomes a free agent again. And should he come out and really do well, better than we all expect, he can really make a name for himself when free agency comes out. There's going to be teams, including the New England Patriots, that are going to need a quarterback next year. So, you say you want the opportunity. He is never, ever going to get a better opportunity, I believe, than he has right at this moment.
No, it worked out for Bridgewater last year because he got himself a nice contract this year when he played well in that system. I mean, I don't know how Winston can really complain about the weapons that he had, because other than Gronkowski, I mean, Brady's playing with the same weapons, basically. I mean, Goodwin and Evans are great receivers. I don't think the weapons around him were the problem. The offensive line wasn't very good, and it's still – and again, you see them more than I do. I think the line has its moments of not playing very well, and you got to keep Tom Brady upright if he's going to be successful. I mean, and he's 43 years old, right? So even when he was 33 years old or 25 years old, the theory on Tom Brady was hit him early and knock him around a little bit, and he's going to, like anybody, he's going to get a little happy feet, right? You got to keep Tom upright, and you keep Tom upright, he can still beat anybody.
So whose division is this one?
Well, I think with the Breeze issue that the Broncos and Brady are probably going to win this division. Now,
I saved the best for last because I honestly think this is one of the best divisions, just competitiveness in this division with the NFC West, the Cardinals, the Rams, Seattle. I believe they're all 6-3. I'm looking on the top of my head. And, obviously the big win which you never know what that can do to a team. But this is an Arizona team that a lot of us started talking about last year, kind of like the Miami Dolphins, that we saw them getting that potential. We saw them being good. And what can just the athlete he has become.
You broke up there for a second. You're talking about Murray and the athlete?
Yeah, Murray and how great of a quarterback he has turned into.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, obviously the game is so much different today that when Kyle Murray and some of these guys who aren't 6'4" like Tom Brady, 6'5" like Tom Brady, they're barely 6 foot or less. Murray, I'm not even sure what he comes in at, 5'11" maybe. Doesn't matter anymore. I mean, they move around, so they don't have to throw over linemen and linebackers. So they just put a different dimension to the game. And he's, when you look at the guys like Murray, they talk about Tua and we talk about Lamar Jackson. Murray, I think, is much better than either one of them throwing the football. So he's a passer and a runner on more of an equal footing than either one of those other two guys. That's what I think. And I think, as you mentioned before, the effect the negative effect that game last week could have on the Bills, and you kind of mentioned it here leading into this this conversation about the West, that it could have equally a positive effect on the Cardinals, and that's the kind of game that can just send you on your way. And they're well coached. I love their coach. He's a gunslinger. They're a fun team. They're a fun team.
Very fun team. And then you got Seattle that, throw whatever you want at Russell Wilson, but he still finds a way to keep winning. I mean, it's incredible, that Seattle team. Pete Carroll does a great job there. And then you got the Rams, who are known for, one of the best play action teams in all the NFL with McVay. I mean, it's hard for me. Part of me would love to see the Cardinals win that because they're the obvious underdog in that division. But this is going to be probably one of the wildest races down to the end.
I agree. And, how crazy is it, before I forget to bring this up, I heard this stat the other day and I was shocked by it, that Russell Wilson has never gotten a first place vote for MVP of the league ever. Guy's played some great football. He just haven't got a vote for MVP.
And it's got to make you wonder, because as great as he's played, it's won the championship, it's been to the Super Bowl, obviously, we just said that. But it amazes me how a guy with that talent doesn't get one vote.
No, he's carried this team on his back for the last 3 years. When they were in the Super Bowl a few years, they were, he might have been more of a game manager, to use that cliche, because they didn't really turn him loose. But he's been their offense for the last 3 years, so it's amazing to me. And I will tell you else, before we move on from this division. Until a few weeks ago, I would have told you that there's a very good chance that all four of these teams could have made the playoffs, because before the 49ers imploded again with injuries, I think they all could have made the playoffs or had a shot at it. So
amazing how one team imploded after going to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo gets hurt. The whole team got hurt.
Yeah,
just a unfortunate situation there.
It is, and there's some doubts about Jimmy G out there now, and even healthy, whether he's going to be the guy going forward. They can send him back to New England, and I'll be happy to take my chances with him next year. So
I hear you there. I picked, before we let you run, I picked 5 games from this week. I want to get your opinions on. Pick 2 of the games that I think are 3 of them that are the better games. Other 2 that has a meaning, and I'll explain when we go over it. First game is Cardinals versus Seahawks. We just were talking about, there's a divisional game. That's what we wanted. What do you see in this game?
Well, I don't know what the over-under is going to be, but it ought to be about 100 probably, because the Seahawks can't stop anybody. The Cardinals are a little iffy on defense. The game is, I believe the game is in Arizona. Am I right or wrong there?
I thought it was in Seattle, but don't quote me.
I'm trying to see right now. I had the schedule up
I
here.
can look it up myself too.
Where are you?
I got it pulling up right now. What was it? Seattle? We said. See, I didn't.
Yeah, Seattle. Where are they? I can't even find them on the schedule. Good grief!
I tell you what. Now either can I.
Oh, they're playing Thursday night. That's why they're at Seattle.
Yeah, at Seattle. I was looking on Sunday. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Seattle's and again another tough place to play and no fans. Obviously, it's very important when they do have. I'm not sure they might have some fans, but I don't think there's enough fans in any of these stadiums to really make a difference.
I think this is an easy one for you. I'm gonna. Oh, actually, let me let you finish there. You didn't answer it. I'm sorry.
I'll probably be on Seattle in this game.
Okay. Now, Pittsburgh's looking to stay undefeated. I don't think they're going to have a problem. They're playing in Jacksonville, but teams do have letdowns. And the one team that has played Pittsburgh well over the past 3 or 4 years has been the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, this team's pretty bad, though. I just don't think Pittsburgh. This is not the place Pittsburgh's going to lose. They had their scare. I think they got a little wake up call in Dallas a few weeks ago, and I don't think you'll see them come out. And almost lay an egg like they did that day. They managed to pull out a victory. I don't see them losing here.
All right. Now the Ravens lose to the Patriots. Now they come home and play the Tennessee Titans. Big game for both teams. Obviously, the Colts beat, like what we talked about earlier, the Titans. What do you see in that one?
Again, I think this is a game Baltimore will win. I think they're, another coach I love. He's not really part of the Belichick coaching tree because he didn't really coach, but Mike Vrabel's a great coach. But I'm just not a big Ryan Tannehill fan. I see the Ravens coming back here. Lamar Jackson will have a better game at home, and I think they'll win this game.
All right, here's something that's going to make you cringe hearing this. The Bills have a bye. I'm sorry. The Bills are off this week. It's their bye week. The Dolphins could take over first place with a win. They're playing the Denver Broncos in the West Coast in Denver. Can they do it?
They can do it, but this would be a place that I'm going to take the Broncos actually in this game. I think Miami's played some really good games on the road. Actually, it's a big win in Arizona a few weeks ago, but Denver was one of my sleepers in the beginning of the year, and they got off to a rough start. They played better recently, but I think this is a place I'm going to say, and I'm guessing Miami will be favored on the road here. I think this will be an upset, and Broncos will win at home.
All right. I was going to ask you the Chiefs and Raiders, but Raiders being all depleted.
Yeah.
Right, I don't even want to go there. But the
game too bad because we got a little revenge factor because the Raiders did beat them earlier in the year. So
that's right. Now the game that everybody down here would like to know: Monday Night Football. The Rams are playing here in Tampa. Rams are 6-3, Bucks 7-3. The Bucks defensively, they have not done a great job against the pass. Rams had that play action defense, which if you're not a great defensive team they confuse other teams by doing all this different play action. People might question Goff versus Brady. Ronald Jones, unbelievable game. Just about 200 yards rushing last game. Of course, one on a 98-yard run. What do you see in this Monday night game?
It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup of coaches. Again, it's not necessarily a great matchup of quarterbacks. Quarterbacks don't play against each other, right? So it's going to come down to Brady against that Rams defense, which has played pretty well for the most part. And I just think they got too many weapons. I think the Bucks will win that game. I think it'll be close, though. I think it'll be a really good game. McVay is another guy who's a really good coach, and I don't think he gets his due. he got a team to a Super Bowl here a few years ago, and they didn't play very well that day. And, he's gotten a lot of, he's got knocked a little bit for that and then being a little tight. But, I don't think there's a better coach in the league than him myself either. But I'm going to go with the Bucs here.
All right, Keith. Last question, and then we're going to let you run, my friend. If you had to pick now, and I'm not asking you to pick two teams, I'm just telling, if you had to pick a favorite based on the way they're playing right now to go to the Super Bowl, which would be the number one team?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas still with that powerful all-purpose team. All righty.
Many weapons.
I want to thank you so very much for definitely coming on the show tonight. It's been a pleasure having you and talking NFL football.
I've enjoyed it. I'll keep watching. I enjoy like I said, I enjoy your enthusiasm. I'll enjoy the guests that you have on, and hopefully we can do something again soon.
All right, my friend. Be safe.
All right. Have a great night, Larry.
You too. Thanks, Keith.
Bye-bye.
That was Keith Engle. He is the host of TGI Sports Talk. And, we broke down a lot of stuff. And, first of all, we went through each division. We talked about different teams. And, I remember the preview show that we did, before on Crew Life and talking about who we were going to pick. And I picked the Bucs and the Steelers, which is still a possibility, to go to the Super Bowl. My surprise team in the NFC, and it's kind of weird because they don't really have the record to show it. I thought the Cowboys would win that division over the Eagles. I picked them to. But I said, watch out. The surprise team in that division could end up by the end of the year being the New York Giants. And you don't have to believe me. Go back, listen to the tape. It's on audio, so I don't have to say anything that I didn't say. And it's happening. It's unbelievable. I mean, that this Giants team is starting to play. What better situation could the Giants be in than, you expected them to have learning curves. Well, now they're conquering those learning curves and starting to play good quality football on both sides of the ball. Daniel Jones is just doing an amazing job. And like I said this before, when we played him, when the Buccaneers when we did our pre-game show, they have a lot of weapons on offense at the receiving with the Tates, the Slayton, the Shepherds. I mean, it's a good offensive ball club. So I'm interested in seeing what happens there. Now, for those of you, a couple of quick things for you. We do have about 5 minutes in the program. Want to remind you, first of all, that if you are not a member yet of our YouTube channel, go to YouTube, type in Frankly Speaking Sports, look for our emblem, and go ahead and become a member. It's free. You'll get to see all our shows live, or you can go back and see them recorded at a later date. Also, for those of you that have a Twitter channel, go to Twitter. Type, that should be at Larry Frankus, not Larry Frankus, but with the @ sign, Larry Frankus, and go ahead and join our Twitter page. We keep retweeting you the most updated information in the sports industry. So, go ahead, do that. We'd love you to do that. We'll go ahead. We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Let me see. We can throw that up there for a little bit. All right. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to make a couple of quick calls if anybody wants to call in. Calling number is 813-922-9810. Want to also remind you a couple of notes here. Tomorrow night, we will be on Crew Life platform tomorrow night. I'm sure it'll be shared at Frankly Speaking Sports with our Pigskin Thursday. That's right, Pigskin Thursday. It's one of the fastest growing internet pregame shows on all of Facebook. We had a record number of viewers last week when we had the terrific Coach Marvin Bell on, and we'll find out what time Coach Bell's going to do his show this week with the game being Monday night, and we'll let you know that tomorrow for sure. We know Coach Bell will be doing a show. I'll find out if it's going to be Tuesday night or Sunday night. But if you never had a chance yet to watch Coach Bell, what an amazing, amazing show he does, breaking down all the different things, just getting people involved, getting the guests involved. Just a great, great, great show. That's why he's the coach. Also, on our Pigskin Thursday tomorrow night, we'll have a special guest, which we will not announce till tomorrow. We'll put out a promotion for it. But we also will break down the upcoming game, Monday night's game, between the Rams and your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we also will have our picks tomorrow night, our Week 11 picks with the points, as everybody seems to love that. We'll be doing that again tomorrow night. So if you want to see the picks in all the Week 11 games, you can go ahead and join us beginning at 9 p.m. right here on your Frankly Speaking Sports Network and your Crew for Life Network. We want to take the time right here to go ahead and thank everybody so much for watching us tonight. I also want to ask everybody as we leave, can do me a favor, please. We have 2 groups, 2 shows, actually 3 shows. 2 of them are on Frankly Speaking Sports. They're growing real fast. Please share it with your friends. If you're enjoying our shows, if you're enjoying our interviews, please allow other people the same opportunity as you to enjoy these shows. It takes a minute to help me out, just to press a button and ask people to join. Number 2, we have one of the fastest USF growing platforms right now. We just had in the last two days, I think 32 members join. We had an unbelievable interview with the great former USF basketball player, Chucky Atkins, on our USF, it's Bullseye, B-U-L-L-S, and then space E-Y-E, Bullseye, 2 words. We continue, myself and my great host, Bradley Lewis Walker, continue to have interviews every week with former players. We've had Chucky Atkins last night. We had Tony Greer on before, Curtis Watkins on before, Matt Grothy on before, Santiago Grammatica, and that's just to name a few. We've had so many on, and I've done so well with it. If you're a USF fan, and if you're in Tampa, damn it, you should be a USF fan. Go ahead and join our Bullseye platform, because we will be back on before the holidays on this upcoming Tuesday at 9 p.m. as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports. We'll see you tomorrow night on Pigskin Thursday, beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night.